Hi guys, welcome to hashtag Off the Record, a special Project Offbeat series specifically catered for casual convos with our guests. We do this so we can get to know them behind their careers, the human behind the job. Expect pressing top of the line questions and fun challenges. If you haven't listened to the episode on Go's path on being a sports journalist, we highly suggest you to start there first. In today's segment, we are joined by female sports journalist Go.
Hi everyone.
Hi, B. Okay, B, I think this is just a short episode. We're going to throw you some questions, talk of the town, big questions, boy abunda type questions. No, so we'll leave it to you to answer with as much, honesty as you can. Okay, number one question. B, fresh off his championship, see, Dave Ildefonso announced that he will be moving on to Korea, right? After being offered with
Wow.
a nice, luxurious deal, right? What is your perspective on athletes choosing to represent different countries and to play there, to get more luxurious deals at the expense of, playing in our country, playing in our own leagues like the PBA or whatever local leagues there are, right? You think like Wesley Saw, right? Yukasaso, and even EJ Obiana, right? Diba? Parang, do you think that there will be a problem if more and more players migrate to play in different leagues instead?
Definitely not a problem because I think we just have so much basketball talent, and then we have, and I feel like it's a good growth mindset to have that young kids can actually aspire for, I can actually play in Korea, I can play in Japan, because honestly those were just available to really good female basketball players like sila Afril
Yeah.
Bernardino na they were um and Aliana Lim, 'di ba? They were the first Philippine basketball exports,
Mhm.
or it was from women's basketball because we didn't have a women's basketball league. So it actually gives a lot of opportunity for like shifts, because I think yung kulang dito sa Philippines compared to other countries is that we
Yeah.
don't have tier levels for basketball na okay, ito yung pang-amateur lang, oh ito yung semi-pro, ito yung
Oo nga 'no.
professional, Div 1,
Mm.
Div 2, Div 3.
Yeah, yeah.
So bringing our top talents abroad um also like helps them develop their skill level as a professional. They represent the country, they're almost like
Sabagay.
diplomats already there.
Yeah.
So now that Philippine basketball, like, it gives more room for people to join the PBA, diba? And actually get good
Mm,
in the level that they are
that's a
in.
nice
So
perspective.
a
Yeah.
lot of, yeah, diba? So a lot of great things talaga, and I'm just really so happy that they get, and as a student athlete, honestly, like, you would really want to also experience living abroad,
Oo naman.
and
Oo naman.
yeah, so
Yeah.
really good experience for the individual as well.
Like for the league naman, I think it's like it's a challenge, guys, to step up your compensations, your competitive levels, right? And avoid too much politics para alam mo yun, piliin kayo lalo ng mga local players natin, right? So yeah, thank you B for sharing your perspective.
When we met basically at EJ Obiano's fan meet, and I kind of asked you to be part of this episode, it made me think, no, parang you not only write about like these sports personalities or these athletes, coaches and teams, no, you also write about especially what happened to EJ Obiano, yung the organizational, the sports governance kind of systemic issues. How do you even approach that as a journalist? And parang hindi pa nakakatakot or parang alam mo yun, yung parang
Exactly.
if you
Exactly.
release this article, won't it have a lot of eyes on you as a journalist and whatnot?
It was, I think, when the EJ Obiena issue came about, the first thing they said, "But you're Raptor," which is a good thing, I guess. Na I was still part of Raptor then, so I was very much aligned with the vision of Raptor, which is to also defend the truth, and
Mhm.
then gave me more boldness also, just being in the
Yeah.
environment of like sila Maria. She's such a great leader, like just carrying us towards
Yeah.
that vision then. So I guess that's my approach, that really courage on, that as what Rappler would say.
A quick follow up, no, Abi. How would you describe Maria Ressa to like a normal person like me and Lance, no? Na only see her as like this Nobel Peace Prize winner, no, on global stages and whatnot. How would you kind of describe her on a like face to face level? Yeah.
She's always in her purple blazer. She's always smiling, and that's what I really appreciate about Maria. She is really such a great visionary. Um, it's really difficult being a leader of an independent publication, and she was arrested in front of our eyes, and then
Mm-mm.
we also saw her come home the next day back to the office also. So, and the and even though like she was the one who was facing a lot of threats and all that, she would always say that our it's business as usual. So even
Mm.
with fear in front of our face, there are just so many threats everywhere. Just because she was able to carry herself with so much grace and so much joy and parang so much courage that we're still able to do our jobs like at peace talaga. So she's really such a great person, and like just conversation, she gets to know the people in Rappler also. So that's what I'm really grateful for. So just a very intentional leader.
I've noticed throughout our episode na you're an advocate of female sports, right? Diba? Women's sports. You have a podcast in it. You also talk about it in your feature articles, right? For you, ano ba ang nadadala ng isang female, that perspective, in the sport, 'di ba? As athletes and even as journalists, 'di ba? Meron ba kayong panibagong perspective, 'di ba? That maybe I don't know like normalizes the narratives, 'di ba? Meron ba kayong ganun na edge, no, that more and more people need to hear about?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if you're familiar with the diversity, equity, and inclusion movement, like all over the world. So it's called
Mm.
DEI.
Mm.
So the thing with DEI is like it's a hot debate because like parang there are people who make actual quotas that we need a number of
Really?
women,
Wow.
a number of African Americans, a number of Asian women in the workforce, no matter the qualifications and all that. So the quota system has been a problem, but then what I believe in, and because I have been in workplaces, number one Rappler
Mm-mm.
is a woman led organization, and then for and then like I come from a church that has a lot of women leaders also, but that and then I remember what my pastor would say, that the reason why diversity works for us, for the organization that I've been in, is because we have diversity for strength. So um like so that's the same with like sports, like just having female leaders, women leaders in
Yeah.
organizations can give like a perspective of um and representation then for the women in the
Sabagay.
organizations.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
and it gives, and on the social perspective, because like even me, I would admit that honestly, like I grew up thinking that um when I was in grade school, it's just like, okay, I study hard, I work a bit, then I get married and be a mother. Parang on it, like when I was a kid, I would only think like that. But then it's just now that I'm actually living my adult
Yeah.
life. It's like wow, like opportunities are endless now for women, and
Yep.
it gives it
Buti na
inspires
lang.
us to,
Yeah.
yeah. So I feel grateful also that I'm in this time period na that women are actually clamoring for women
Mm.
leadership, and we see the why behind
Yeah.
why women should be leaders, and it's not
Yeah.
out of like because we just want to show that we have a woman leader, like the quota thing, but it's actually for a strength reason.
Yeah. Do you think representation aside, no, parang um do you think female athletes tend to open up more to female journalists? May ganun ba? Do you feel that?
Yes, definitely. And it's because uh it's like, oh, there's like for women it's really like emotional connection also.
Yeah,
So
empathy.
since
Yeah,
so I've been doing a lot of research about, women's sports content, and
yep.
like yung even the content, the consumption habits of a male fan, sports fan, and a female sports fan with
Really?
regards to
Wow.
women's sports stories. And
Hmm.
yeah, so ganun talaga, like women would tend to want and they would want to find emotional connection to
Yeah.
another woman.
You know what, B? Parang there's one part. Parang I read an article from you, and I really like this line where you said, "Parang we shouldn't romanticize really the struggle of female journalists trying to make it to the top there. We
Yeah.
must instead kind of hold these institutions accountable for the systemic kind of like red tape that they put around na no women can enter here or something like that. So parang there's such a nice way of thinking about it and very refreshing. No, ayun.
Yeah, because the problem is like na infantilized din kami. So parang
Mm.
binababy kami, which is not supposed to be happening in the workplace. We're all adults. We're all
Oo.
professionals also. So yun, I think what Matt was saying is because for context, when the sports bubbles were happening, parang there were journalists talaga na it was for example, the PBA bubble, it was only men are allowed to be there
Mm.
kasi baka ma-rape, baka ang female sports journalist or or any female working in
May
sports
ganun
na
pala, no? Yeah.
yeah, there's that aspect na baka like kasi the basketball players haven't like seen their wives in a long time, that they might get tempted ganon. It's like, oh my gosh, like why even, diba? So ayun, like it's really the institution that needs to be accountable na
Yeah.
mali rin na they'll actually try to abuse us or harass us, diba?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Parang I
Most.
don't
Yeah.
understand why that's the go-to, that's the go-to mentality na, sexual agad or something, diba? Even like
Yeah.
Taylor Rooks
Mm-mm.
when she went to the NBA bubble, she also had a lot of this stigma looped into her just because, she was associated with some of the big NBA players also. So parang wala lang. It's just very crude to kind of go to that immediately
Yeah.
when thinking about this instead of treating them as professionals as they should be. Ayun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I guess next question, no. I'm not sure if you saw this, but Lance's favorite podcast, which is not Offbeat, Project Offbeat. It's the JJ Reddick, the old man in the tree. No, they recently had this episode with Hassan Minaj where he talked about how we talk about winning in sports media. That we perhaps should change the way we talk about winning and legacies. Na like winning can come in different forms, not just holding a championship up. It could also come in like mental health or having a family
Yeah.
or something and still earning the generational wealth. Diba? So how do you feel about how like sports media relies on creating epic grand narratives that players should fit this mold of greatness. Diba, at the end of the day, it's sports media who dictates what is the content that they release. So parang, is it good na they rely on these epic media
Yeah.
narratives? Are they the GOAT or whatnot? Or should we kind of change the discussion and talk more about
Actually, parang
even who they
si
are?
Heidelin, 'di ba? Parang sobrang tagal niya na nag-weightlifting pero
Mm-mm.
bigla siyang nagka-condo, bigla siyang binigyan ng mga brand deals just when she won the gold medal, 'di ba? So, yeah, what do you think B on those grand narratives?
um I think grand narratives should still be there, just because honestly, by truth, sobrang grand din ng mga achievements nila,
Sa bagay.
especially Messi, 'di ba, na
Yes, yes, Messi.
7 Ballon d'Ors, and then Copa
Yeah.
America, World Cup. It's a true story. So I feel like grand
Mm-mm.
narratives should still be there, but then we can diversify na lang, na add more angles na a win is like, for example, if you're gonna cover the Kramer family na
Mm-mm.
na they have become a very marketable like family because from
Right.
basketball, kasi parang it really gives more options also for the next generation na okay, like I didn't become an Olympian or something, or I didn't play in the FIBA World Cup, but then because of basketball, parang oh, naging artista ako, or I
Exactly.
was able to or yung iba na a big win is like just becoming a coach because that's how they want to give back to the sport. So I think a lot of sports media are able to like cover those kinds
Yeah.
of stories naman. I think it's just about like the fan engagement. Syempre, if it's drama, if it's a big narrative,
Mm-mm.
siguro that's what people would only see. But then I think just being able to do your duty to cover like multiple like angles would ano na, at least you're already doing something about it. And you never know, that one article can actually come across that one person who gets
Yeah.
inspired, and I think that's already a win as a journalist.
Yeah, the reason why I brought this up is because don't the athletes feel like they're being dehumanized, or parang they're trying to be pushed into this this parang
Yeah.
we have to score 30 points a game, or you know what I mean, na
Oh,
parang
I have an sorry. Yeah, I was supposed to
mm,
add to that
sure, sure,
perspective. It's because if we look into the issue of Naomi Osaka and the media, it's
exactly,
Yeah.
because like
exactly.
I um our job as the media, like my former boss, si Jasmine Payo, who's like a really
Mm-mm.
great a
Mm.
sports writer when she was in the Inquirer, parang she would always say na hindi rin as media kasi we have the power of the public. We actually need to like steward that power also na parang hindi siya ang dami naming knowledge. We have so much knowledge pero we don't put out everything kasi
Yeah.
will it actually benefit the athlete? Will it actually benefit the sport? What is this one knowledge, can this
Mm.
fact that
Yeah.
we're going to put out, will it like negatively harm the, or
Mm-mm.
just add to the
Yeah.
fire instead of like
Yeah.
putting out solutions? So as a journalist, like we also had that discernment, and when you're
Yeah.
in a press conference, it's um iba talaga yung um like you really get people who ask like stupid questions. And
Yeah.
I guess that's actually like going back to like the episode before when I talked about the discipline of journalism and like just being exposed to the press conferences. I think another thing about actually, getting into your school publication or anything just to like try it out is just like to get mentorship talaga, and you have
Right.
to be mentored by the right people also. So being in that environment really just enhances
Right.
your learning din. Yeah, and yung kay Naomi Osaka talaga, as in, I don't think like the journalists had the empathy, or they just throw out questions not intentionally thinking na
Yeah.
will this negatively or positively help the athlete, ganun.
Exactly. I think yan yung trap minsan eh. Parang as a journalist, syempre may targets ka rin na hinahabol mo, engagement, di ba, clicks and whatnot. And sometimes you forget already the impact that you are actually impacting the player and their team once you release that article, di ba? So I think that
Mm-mm.
discernment is, I don't know, tried and tested every day by you, no? Uh, I hope you
Mm-hmm.
make the decisions at least 9 out of 10 times, di ba, in these moments. Sige, my last question for big questions be, it's a topic that's, well talked about the past few days, no? Just recently, di ba? The champion point guard, mythical five player point guard ng Ateneo Blue Eagles, Fortsky Padrigao, right? Let's talk about vow, right, or violence against women, right? Especially against the sports stars, diba? You talk about Miles Bridges, he's being kicked out of the NBA, and then up until now, didn't even receive any offer from the sports teams, right? And of course, Paul Desiderio, di ba? Na dating, I think, Blackwater player of the PBA. Ngayon, di ko na alam kung nasan siya. He was a king UP Maroon before, right? And now, I don't know where he is, right? Talk to us about a journalist's role in shedding to light about these stories, diba? How do you navigate towards it? There's a lot of sensitivities here. You may impact a player, but you may also impact a victim if you don't share these stories out loud, right? So, ano yung role nyo here? What are the discernments that you actually take, no? And would you say that there is any model league that has actually managed these cases correctly? No?
Mm-mm. I remember that me and another senior veteran sports reporter, si Chito de la Vega, he now works as a desk editor in Raptor. There is
Mm.
one thing we believe in about sports, and sports is for the development of a person, as like
Yeah.
yung whole being of the person. So that includes its values building, its nation building. So parang when we have that one of the that as like our ground, one of the ground like framework in covering na sports is for for values building. So parang at least that kind of paves the way for the approach
Mm.
to these kinds of issues, kasi I've covered also sexual harassment, also then yung nga, violence against women, children, or actually just violence in general, kasi diba men can also get
Yeah.
can be the victim din. So um as a journalist, it's really okay. You have to, again, like, still the discipline of like listening to both sides. It's so important kasi to try to at least get the comment and like how it happened from the other side, kasi yun din yung diba, that's how they attack yung sa issue ni Cristiano Ronaldo
Yeah. Yeah.
years back with um that German publication. Yeah, and then um pero yun, as in, it really has to come from the like yun, yeah, the in for it needs help. We need help for from the institution also, because we can only do so much to put out these stories and to let people know that this is really what happens. But then hopefully, like, these articles can actually move the needle for the
Yeah.
institutions to make some changes with their policies, or for them to even admit that there's something wrong also, that this is really
True.
not right. This is the impact of vow and all that. So um in terms of like model institution, I think like I s- I have yet to actually discover that. But then that was one of my um one of the questions that I thought of also before, na I wonder which league has
Yeah.
actually acted upon like these kinds of situations, and not parang talagang. And also, I think the important thing is yung totoong rehabilitation. Kasi for example, yung kay
Totoo yan.
Calvin Abueva, like they only made sure that he goes through these like seminars. Pero have they actually weighed out the impact of these seminars? Actually effective ba siya?
Yeah.
Ganun. Eh kasi like the important thing is that you're like I'm really not for cancel culture, and I really
Yeah.
believe that you really have to address the issue and what was wrong, but then give grace and mercy to the person, because people change talaga, and it's really
Yeah.
possible that you could change for the better. So I really believe in yung totoong
Yeah.
rehabilitation din.
That's a fresh perspective, no? Kasi parang kung isipin mo rin, of course from the athlete's point of view, ilang taon din yung pinaghirapan yung career niya, right? And just for it to
Yeah.
go down one night, 'di ba? So I agree that it's really the institution that has to also play a role, try to rehabilitate, right? Try to find both sides, 'di ba? Just to find the middle ground, 'di ba? Thank you B for that one.
All right. Thank you, B, so much for joining us
Yeah,
on
no
hashtag
problem.
off the record. Thank you again. Thank you for listening to us, guys, on
Naubos ni
hashtag off
B
the
yung kape
record.
niya.
Oh,
Naubos ni B yung kape.
Oo.
All right.
If you like our special series, follow us as well on Facebook, IG, and LinkedIn and YouTube for exclusive content. That's at the Project Offbeat. If you want to learn more from our guests, you can reach B on her Instagram, her Twitter. Ayun. So see you guys again. Bye, guys.